Okay, so in the last lecture we discussed about the basic theory of IR spectroscopy, that why does the bond vibrate, how does the bond vibrate, and basic models of a spring for a simple harmonic oscillator and an anharmonic oscillator for real cases. And we saw there are different vibrational levels, the energy of them are quantized. And we also saw that in simple harmonic oscillator the spacings are equal, so their vibrational levels are equally spaced, leading to only a single transitional energy, whereas in anharmonic oscillators the vibrational energies actually crowd together as the vibrational quantum number increases, and we have different breakdown of the selection rule also changes from plus delta V plus minus 1 to delta V plus minus 1, 2 and 3, and we have several transitions possible. And today we will see the basic nature of the vibration itself, right? How what are the different types of vibration of a molecule possible, and how many vibrations are possible. We'll discuss all these factors. Okay, so before that we go into details, let us first say start our discussion with the same example that we took in the last lecture, that is, say, HCl. So this is we are taking because this has a dipole moment in this direction, because this is delta minus and this is delta plus. Okay, now as we discussed that this molecule H2 or Cl2, they will vibrate. These bonds will also vibrate, but this vibration will lead to, they will not affect, there will be no change in dipole moment of the molecule due to the vibrations. Why? Because the molecule itself is symmetric, and the only vibration possible is along this bond, and that vibration either compression or elongation will lead to nothing change, right? It will also lead to no dipole. So if there is no change in dipole, right, so whenever there is change, no change in dipole, so it will not interact with the electric component of the electromagnetic radiation. But in the case of HCl, you see, if you elongate it, right, if you elongate it, suppose the bond has elongated here now, right, then the dipole moment has also increased, and if you squeeze it, the dipole moment will also decrease, right, depending on the separation of the charges. Okay, so now you see, I write the HCl again. Now suppose I ask you to point out the coordinates of H and Cl, right? Now you can do it in three-dimensional space. Just point out the hydrogen atom and Cl atom. You can do it by placing the coordinates. Suppose you place for x1, y1, z1 for hydrogen, and x2, y2, z2 for our chlorine. Okay, so how many coordinates in total you needed? See, the total number of coordinate values is actually 6, 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. So 6 is the number. Now let us move from our diatomic molecule to the next higher level, say water. Suppose we have water now here. Now see how many coordinates will be needed here. x1, x2, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2 and x3, y3, z3. So you see here it will be 9 coordinates are required, right? And if you extend it to any molecule, right, you will require here 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can easily say you will require 15 coordinates here. So in general, if there is n number of atoms in a molecule, right, if n atoms are there in a molecule, so then you have 3n number of coordinates are required. Okay, so if the n atoms is present in a molecule, then 3n number of coordinate values are required to describe the atoms of the molecule. We say that these have 3n number of degrees of freedom. You might have heard this name before, but this is how you say it, that there is 3n number of degrees of freedom for a molecule which has n number of atoms. Why degrees of freedom? Because see, these coordinate values may be specified quite independently of the other, right? So you can specify, I mean, if they are not fixed, right? So as long as they are not fixed, suppose you want to fix, you are given the methane molecule and you are asked that just specify the numbers, you can do that, right? But once you have fixed them, right, once you have fixed the coordinates of each of the atoms, right, and you have fixed the bond distance also, bond angles also, right, then no further specifications can be made. Okay. Now, so we have now 3n degrees of freedom for a molecule with n atoms. Now this molecule, let us take the example of water itself. Right? Now this molecule, suppose you have the coordinate axis here, z, y, x. Right? You have this axis here, perpendicular, 3 perpendicular axis, and the molecule is here. Now this molecule can translate means it can go here, it can go in this direction also, it can go in it can go in this direction also. So this is translation motion, right? So by this you can also change the number of possible degrees of freedom, right? So there are 3 degrees of freedom which can be attributed to translational motion, right? So it can move in any direction, but whatever direction it moves, it can be, I mean, that can be resolved into components along the x, y and z direction, isn't it? Whatever direction it moves, it can be resolved into the direction of x, y and z. So that's why how many are left? So 3 are taken, 3 degrees of freedom are taken away by this translational motion. So we are left with 3n minus 3 are left now. Okay. Okay. Another one is now suppose you can rotate it also. Right? See, suppose this is our molecule, right? You can rotate it along this x direction, you can rotate it along this z direction, you can rotate it along this y direction, right? So 3 motions are taken away further by rotation. So what is left? 3n minus 6. These are actually for vibrations. So 3n minus 6 types of vibrations will get fundamental vibrations, right? These are actually fundamental vibrations, right? We are not talking about overtones and first and second overtones, right? Fundamental vibrations. Right? So you are left with 3n minus 6 fundamental vibrations. Okay, so we have 3n minus 6 fundamental vibrations, right? Now this is actually for non-linear molecules. Non-linear molecules. See, why non-linear? See, this is a non-linear molecule, means not linear. Now, if I take the example of linear one, suppose this HCl, right, and place it in the coordinate axis, right? See, you can rotate it in any direction, right? But if you rotate it along its bond axis, right, this is also a rotation. If you rotate it along its bond axis, there will be no change in the position of H and Cl, isn't it? You can, if you rotate it along, say along Z axis, it will move in a circular way like this, right? So there will be change of H coordinate and the coordinate of Cl also. If you rotate it along the Y axis, you will also change it, right? But suppose I have drawn it like this. Suppose the HCl is along the X axis and you are rotating along the bond axis, right? Then there will be no change in the X and Y. So for linear molecule, number of fundamental vibration is actually 3n minus 5, because there is one less rotation, right? So this is for linear molecules. Linear molecules, right? 3n minus 5. Okay, so we have one more vibrations for linear molecule. Okay, now let us take the cases one by one. Suppose we have now the HCl case, or any linear molecule. The carbon monoxide will also be same. Okay, one less rotation. Okay, I will say you once again. Let's go here. Just a minute. Suppose I have this carbon monoxide along the x-axis, right? Now, if I rotate, suppose I am rotating it along this axis, right? So if I rotate it, suppose 90 degree, then after rotation, what will happen? It will be like this. If I rotate 180 degree, it will be like this, right? If I rotate it 270 degree, it will be like this. Okay, so something this will happen. So that means the position of carbon, oxygen, they are changing, right? They are changing if you rotate it along the Z axis. Same will happen if you rotate it along this Y axis, right? It will also change. But if you rotate it along X axis, that is along this bond axis, see, the coordinates of carbon and oxygen will not change. Why? Because you are rotating along the bond axis itself, and the molecule is linear, right? So that rotation actually is not that rotation will not be considered as pure rotation, and that's why it will be not be subtracted from 3n. so there will be one less rotation. Now the rotation is 2, that means for in this case 3n minus 3 for translation and minus 2 for rotation. This is for rotation, this is for translation. So this is for one less one. For linear molecules is 3n minus 5. Okay, let's get back. So now suppose let us discuss for these linear molecules. For linear molecules, diatomic linear molecules, of course, not only linear, the only for diatomic linear in this case we have taken, right? So n equals to 2, so 3n minus 5 equals to what? 6 minus 5, only 1. So 1 is left for vibration, and in fact you can see, so how many bonds is there? There is only one bond. Here there is triple bond, but you cannot say that you are elongating the one bond and the other bond you are compressing, right? So the number of connections between these two atoms is only one. We are considering here the vibration of the triple bond itself. We will be considering the vibration of the triple bond itself. Right. So we will not consider here 3 bonds, so we will be considering here 1 bond for the purpose of IR spectroscopy. So here also you see there is, if there is 1 bond, there is only 1 vibration is possible. So that is the vibration of these bonds. Right. So for any molecule which has n atoms, if it is acyclic, not cyclic, right, it will give you n minus 1 bonds. It will give you n minus 1 bonds, and that will give similarly you get the vibrations for that one. Right. The stretching, right. So this vibration will be the stretching vibration. No other vibration is possible. Means stretching means you can elongate and compress. The model we discussed in the last lecture, spring. Stretching, and only one kind of stretching. Okay. Now suppose we have, say, this water molecule. Okay. So triatomic non-linear water molecule. So see, now the 3n minus, not 5, it will be 6 here. So 3 into 3 is 9 minus 6. We have 3 types of vibration. Now let us see, you can identify or not 3 types of vibration. See, in the first lecture we discussed about something like this. See, now suppose both the this bonds, OH bonds, elongate and or compress simultaneously, right? They can either move this way or together or this way together. So that means at any instant it can look like this one, and of course this atom will move this way, right? Or in the other way. So at any instance, if you elongate it, it might look like this, or you can compress it, it will look like this, right? And in between there will be the equilibrium position. It will always pass through the equilibrium position during vibration. So this kind of vibration is called stretching. Of course, again stretching of the bonds. This is called symmetrical stretch. Symmetric stretch. Okay. And how the dipole moment changes? See, the dipole moment, if this was the component of the vector, of course will be towards this oxygen. if it was like this, then in this case it will be much more, right? In this case it will be, it will be lower than this one, right? It will be smaller. The dipole moment also change in the same direction, but the magnitude decreases or increases. So this is our symmetrical stretch. Right. Now on the other hand, if you have, say, okay, let me draw the equilibrium position first. So this is our equilibrium position. Now you can either have this bond stretched and this bond shortened, or you can have these bonds shortened or these bonds stretched. Right. This doing this also change the dipole moment, right? Because these are not symmetric, right? And as this stretching and compression are not doing, I mean both of the bonds are not going on simultaneously, we can say that this is asymmetric stretch or antisymmetric stretch, right? Whatever you can say antisymmetric, symmetric stretch, antisymmetric stretch. Okay, because you are, if it is increasing it is decreasing, and if it is decreasing then it is elongating. But so this will also affect the dipole moment, change in dipole, and will also be IR active. So this is also IR active, right? This stretch, because it gives produce a change in dipole moment, and this antisymmetric stretch, this is also IR active because this also produce a change in dipole moment. Okay. Now suppose I have drawn, this is our equilibrium position. Another vibration is possible. See, in the same plane, right? Now if this hydrogen moves like this, what will happen? If this hydrogen moves like this, it will be, suppose it will be near linear molecule, right? Then again it condenses, I mean towards bond angle is decreased. So hydrogens are moving like a scissor, right? Suppose it is moving like a scissor, so you are either closing it or opening it, right? Something like this. So this kind of vibration, right? This is not stretch. The bond length is not decreasing or increasing. So these are not stretches, right? So these are called bending, right? And in this case, this is symmetric bend. Symmetric bending. Symmetric bending. So these are the three types of vibration for water molecule. Okay. Now you can also argue that why not this one? If not in the plane, if the hydrogen goes above and below the plane, what will happen? So if it is going above and below the plane, if you see, if you look at like this, suppose hydrogen is here, it's on the plane. Now you are saying that it goes above the plane, both the hydrogen above the plane or below the plane. This is in fact not a rotation, not a vibration. This is actually a rotation. You see, if you are just rotating the water molecule this way, so this kind of motion is not considered vibration. This is actually a rotation. And we will discuss this kind of rotation again while we consider another example. So, but for the time, you see, these are the three possible vibrations for water molecule: symmetric stretch, antisymmetric stretch, and bending. Now let us take another triatomic molecule, but this time linear. We have already discussed linear molecule like HCl or carbon monoxide, but let us say another triatomic molecule which is linear. So in this case 3n minus it will not be 6, it will be 5. So it will be 9 minus 5, 4 vibrations. Let us see if we can find 4 vibrations or not. Right. See. Now, for carbon monoxide, see, let's see the symmetric stretch. Right. Suppose this is the equilibrium position, so you can either have this one. So this is the symmetric stretch. This kind of symmetric stretch you see in any of the cases. Of course, the carbon monoxide molecule itself does not have any dipole moment, and this symmetric stretch again will also not produce any change in dipole moment. It will be 0 for all the cases. So this kind of symmetric stretch this is, although this is happening, this is our count in the one of the 4 vibrations, but these are IR inactive stretch. Okay. Now let us see this asymmetric stretch. Right? So if it is asymmetric stretch, suppose this is the equilibrium position. Now this one bond elongates and one bond shortens, and in this case this other elongates, the other shortens. So in this case, now there is a change in dipole moment. Right? Now there is a change in dipole moment. From 0, you are either increasing the dipole moment in this direction, right? There is a positive dipole moment in this direction, and in this case in this direction. So there is a change in dipole moment, and as such this anti-symmetric stretch. Is IR active. Okay, because there is a change in dipole moment. Now these are the 2 stretches possible. Let us see the another, that will be this bending. This is the carbon monoxide dioxide. Suppose you on the plane of the paper you are bending it. So some sort of something will happen like this, right? So it's going on either this way or this way. So as you can see, there will also be a change in dipole moment here. So as such, this is also IR active, and this is called bending. Okay. Now this is one type, this is another type, this is the 3rd type. Where is the 4th one? We have to find a 4th one, because our calculation theory says there will be a 4th vibration. Be it IR active or not is not a problem, but we have to find out the 4th vibration. See, if you look at this 3rd one, this bending, I have drawn it on the plane of the paper. What if it is out of plane? Suppose the oxygens are coming out towards you, right? Towards you and away from you. Both are doing it simultaneously. Then that is another type of vibration, right? So that is also bending. But that vibration and these 2 bendings are degenerate. Why degenerate? Because they are a similar type, only the direction is different, right? But you have to consider them as different vibrations, right? We cannot say that they are same motions. They are different motions, and they are different vibrations, and they give rise to different energy. Not different energies, they give rise to same energy. That's why we say that they are degenerate. We have already discussed this term before, right? So these are the 4 vibrations of a triatomic molecule, but which is linear. Right? So as we go from this non-linear to linear, we see there is one extra vibration. See why this extra vibration has come. This is due to this one. Right? Here we consider this as rotation, isn't it? This rotation. Now this is rotation because this is non-linear. But if the molecule is linear, then if it is out of plane, you cannot consider it as rotation anymore. As soon as this is linear, it becomes linear, the rotation changes to vibration. That's why we have this extra vibration for these linear molecules. Okay. Now there are two other different types of these vibrations which are not here. I will show you for another example. Suppose we take now methane. Okay, let us do it like this. So these are hydrogens, and let us draw it in wedge bond so that the direction of tetrahedral is clear. Right? So these two bonds, the solid bonds are on the plane. This wedge bond, the solid wedge bond is above the plane, and dotted bond is away from the plane. So this is tetrahedral. So here we have what? We have 5, right? 3n minus 6. So minus 6. So 15 minus 6. So there will be 9 types of vibrations, right? So there are 9 vibrations. We will not consider all the vibrations here, but see what we can see, just what we have learned here, this symmetric stretch and all that we can all as you usually visualize. We just see these extra vibrations. See, the symmetric stretches will be along these bonds. You can easily see these bonds. If it is vibrate like this, there will be symmetric stretching, right? Asymmetric stretching will be, suppose this is elongating, this is compressing. So then this will be asymmetric. So this will be symmetric, anti-symmetric. Right. Now this bending vibration can be of two types. Right. See, bending vibrations can be of two types. Now, as with water or with carbon monoxide, if it is on the plane, right? If it is on the plane, you see this bending, you can both bend it together on this way, right? Or you can bend it to other ways, but still on the plane. Either they can this is like scissor type, so this is called in plane bending. So they are in plane bending, right? And scissoring, this is called scissoring, right? Because see, this is like a scissor, right? Both the bonds are either coming together and going away. But here, this is both the bonds are either going on the left or on the right. So this is called rocking, like a rocking chair, right? That's why this is called rocking. But both are in plane bending. But this bending can also be out of plane. Right? Let's see, out of plane bending. See, now either both the molecules come above the plane or go below the plane. So in both the cases, if I say let me put it at positive sign. Positive means it's coming towards you, right? Either it can do like this, or one can come towards you, other can go away from you. I am putting the minus sign like this, right? So there can be two types of out of plane bending, right? Now this is called wagging, right? And this is called twisting. So already you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types of vibration is there, right? And what are the other three? See, if you combine with the other another two bonds are there, right? We have not considered these things. So if you combine these two things, we will get all the 9 types of vibrations. Okay. So you see, these symmetric stretches, if all the four, for the methane, for say methane also has zero dipole moment, right? Now if it is symmetric stretch, all the 4 bonds are collapsing together or elongating together, then this vibration will also be IR inactive, right? So this kind of vibrations, not all the vibrations are IR active, some are IR active and some are not. And what is the condition? What is the selection rule? Selection rule means we have the selection rules for vibration and energy levels, but in addition to that, we also have some other selection rules regarding the interaction with the our electromagnetic radiation, right? So that is the change in dipole moment. We have to look at those vibrations which results in change in some dipole moment, however less it is. If it is less, then the interaction will be lower, but there will be interaction. But if there is no change in dipole moment, there will be no interaction. So vibration, however vigorous they are, they will occur, but it will not lead to change in dipole moment, and so they will be not IR active. Okay, those bonds. So all the vibrations are not always IR active. So if you want to see all the molecules vibrating together, right? All the molecules vibrating together, you might not see it. May be very complicated, right? Because all these bonds are vibrating. I mean, they are not stopping. These two bonds are not here stopping here. So when the other two are vibrating, they are all in continuous motion. And even if at zero vibrational level, we have already seen they are at motion. So if you want to look at it, it will be very complicated, and as such these IR spectra are actually very complicated to look at, but with some knowledge we can identify the bands, and because people have done that, and we can learn to interpret the spectrum. The next lecture will do that, to how to identify the bands and what are the nature, how the nature changes with other chemical environment, with I mean the bond strength, and how the bond strength stretches, and how that bond strength actually give us the frequency. Because you know that frequency, we have seen that nu bar is equals to 1 upon 2 pi c. In the last lecture we have done this, force constant K by mu, right? So how this will change the frequency? Stronger the bond, higher will be the frequency, because it is directly proportional to the bond strength, right? Stronger the bond, higher will be the frequency, right? So you can say that carbon-carbon single bond, carbon-carbon double bond, and carbon-carbon triple bond, this is the stronger bond, so they will appear at higher frequency than carbon-carbon single bond. All these aspects will discuss in the next lecture.